the direction of being. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to make you feel worse, but explore that, and your mind will find ways to overcompensate, and maybe move you into martial arts, maybe move you into the direction of being more brave next time. But it's a shitty experience, but I don't think it has to define you. I think if anything, will take you to the opposite.
You have to still mirror it with an event. A lot of people will become a martial artist and join, let's say, a karate tournament, and there'll be a karate tournament event that no one in the arena knows is about your honor except you, and you enter it, and win or lose, the unconscious finally gets unconscious, and you finally get to be in the state of, I didn't freeze this time, that old me is dead. But if you don't join a martial arts dojo, if you don't do anything, if there's no world of events, you're going to be just going on dates and hear that voice in the back of your head say, you froze, for the rest of it.
Yeah, there's some things, if you want to message me privately, there's some exercises I can recommend that might be able to help. Is there any way to get that energy out without using sports? I don't think drawing or painting would be draining enough. By the way, Zerka, we're way behind on the chat.
Yeah, we're not asking this guy anymore. He's not talking about painting?
No, is there another way to get that energy out without using sports?
Oh, well, that's the thing. Oh, we're talking about the earlier stuff. That's the thing.
Be quick about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That if you're the creative painting type, playing football doesn't get you that creative archetypal energy out. It has to be you and unique to you. So you can't put a painter to play football and the energy exhausts itself. It'll still go on his mind. So you have to really know who you are. If you're, a lot of people are the dancing types. I didn't even realize this. Like they don't dance in public, but they'll dance at home, and that's how they get it out. I've caught myself doing that. Yeah.
Great. By the way, the guy about having the mental breakdown on the right side of his brain is clarifying. It was due to extreme stress and extreme overthinking. I'm not lying, it's very hard to explain it fully through the message. Basically, I feel like I lost half of my vocabulary as well as a little bit of the imaginative part of the brain, as you pointed out. From that moment of the breakdown, I had very hard to explain it fully through the message. Basically, I feel like I lost half of my vocabulary as well as a little bit of the imaginative part of the brain, as you pointed out. From that moment of the breakdown, I had extreme intrusive thoughts that were fading away over time and completely disappeared after I turned to Christ. I think some evil entity went inside of me when I had that breakdown. Yeah. But my main goal now is getting those cognitive abilities back. Any tips? Went to a psychologist years ago when it happened, but it didn't help at all.
I've got something really strong. Thank God the antidote of the cross is always there. I'm glad you said this part. Now we can really get into it. My dude, the biggest danger you could get into is, let's say you can do what I did and get obsessed with scripture. But if you choose the wrong channels, like little Ben Shapiro's and stuff that lead you astray, you'll wind up hating the book. You won't know you're hating on it until you're always anxious again. That's why I say master the Bible in the most fun way possible. And no Christian says this part because they want to look serious with their little faggot faces. Bro, in the most fun way possible. I used to do, you didn't see, I do comic book storyboarding. I do also, I would buy live action Bible comics to digest it first and then scripture. But what I'm saying is, if the cross saved you, you have 10 years before you master 1% of that book. That's the healthiest way to go about this. Because the scariest way to go is the cross healed me, and now I don't know what to do. Why don't you stay with the cross? Why not? Why are you trying to run from it now? You know, that's like me going to Quran today. What would be the point of that? You know, like haven't we seen my benefits?
Great answer. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these other ones. Okay, question for both of you. Why is it in my mind I'm very articulate and intellectual with my words and thoughts, but when it comes down to actually having conversations with my friends, I draw blanks and forget. It gets really frustrating.
Yeah, usually anytime it's like a linguistic error, I've noticed it's not really that. I really don't think it's an issue of vocabulary or even processing speed. It's always too nervous to talk. And there's studies that show like the human's biggest fear, most common fear, they all have is public speaking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you overcome if you overcome that, then your YouTube channel starts exploding and your PowerPoint presentations start looking really good. But yeah, I'm positive it's not an intelligence thing because have you ever been around a dumb fuck and then none of the buddies around, it's just you and him, and you start sounding more intelligent? You know what I mean?
Or anxiety is definitely a big part of it. There's one of the things
like around the chicks, around the girls and all that. Sounds like a fucking caveman. And then when you're alone in the car, he'll say some Plato level profound shit. You'll be like, what the fuck? Like,
he's just a little nervous.
yeah. Well, no, he's mindful of the room, you know?
I'm joking. I think a lot of it is people worry about how they might be judged for the way they speak. But so I think anxiety is a big part of it. There's one other thing that I noticed that I talked about last time, and I put a huge emphasis on this. It's this like perfectionist tendency that we have. I've seen it in clients. I feel like I do it myself a little bit, where I'm trying to find the perfect word to fit into the sentence. And in doing so, you fall into that all or nothing thinking, where either the sentence either has to come out perfect or it doesn't come out at all. Here's a quick exercise that I think could help. Give yourself a budget for how many mistakes you're allowed to make in a sentence, or in a conversation, let's say, right? So maybe you give yourself a budget of you're allowed 5 fuck-ups, right, or 10 fuck-ups, whatever it may be, and see if that helps a little bit, right? It'll help move you away from that perfectionist mindset. If it is that, if it's not that, it's the anxiety and the feeling of being judged. Yeah. Most likely. Why is it so challenging to grind out studying for work? Why have I dealt with this struggle since middle school? My take on ADHD and symptoms like this is ADHD is sort of a downstream disorder. It always exists downstream of something else, whether it's trauma or a chaotic home at an early age. That those skill sets, those abilities, the abilities around discipline just are not reinforced for whatever reason. And of course, as an adult, if you lack the skills as a child, it's much harder to develop them as an adult. So what I'd say here is, I think you need to work out something else. If you want to message me though privately, I can send you some tips that really do help people with ADHD, like Pomodoro technique and some other ones.
Yeah, and I would say most ADHD is an external trigger of, let's say, their parents start doing 4 p.m. every time the kid comes home.
Yeah, I remember a client of mine had heard you talk about that and mentioned it to me, and I thought it was such a brilliant theory, and then he told me it was you who said it. I was like, whoa.
Really? I'll take that part for the end. Let's go.
No, yeah, I really like that. Yeah, so it's a trauma response, right? It's an anxiety response.
In a nutshell, everything that happened to us when we're like 10 years old, probably younger, but we don't remember. But we have it's emotions and feelings are different things. There's drives. So you're put into a drive. Like a lot of people are like, what's anxiety? Anxiety is blah, blah, blah. But really, if you notice anxiety comes before the thinking, you just woke up like that. And that external trigger might happen in a dream, might happen in your phone, the first thing you check, whatever, but you can never pinpoint it. But it always rhymes with something that happened to you at 10 years old. And so a lot of kids, their minds start going wild because their parents start arguing at 4 p.m. after soccer practice and after school every day. And then they'll be 35-year-old adults and 4 p.m. hits and they get anxious for no reason. They don't know why. And there's also like a built-in resentment there of the family home. That you get more irritated with your parents when you're around them, because
I
deep
agree.
down you know they fucking cracked you. And
Well, I do think there's something deeper than that even, Zerk. I think they go back to being that 10-year-old version of themselves as well. And in doing that, they take on all the same vulnerabilities that they had physically and psychologically, lacking any of the coping mechanisms. What I always tell my clients is, when you're triggered in that way, think in that moment about all the access to resources you have now, the coping mechanisms. Try to think of yourself as an adult, what you might say to this younger version of yourself. That's a great way to create distance between you and this person that you effectively become when you're triggered. So I think that's a great way to get around that as well. ADHD is extremely tricky. There's an element of all or nothing thinking involved there as well. There's a biological component, so they say. I don't know how much I agree with that. I'm more of the mindset that it is a response to trauma or something in early upbringing.
You know, I don't know if you're gonna like this idea, but I was thinking of I have like books about things I want to do to save mankind and help the world. And for the more psycho-spiritual books, I made a ritualistic in the world active imagination play. Let's say so. Basically, you hire an actor. I was thinking of actually creating this. I know this is like far out in the future, but I wanted to open up a clinic like the X-Men clinic, and I'm Professor Xavier, right? Maybe with a Z though, or a Z for you fucking Americans. But because bro, if you say Z at 7-Eleven in America, they go like this, huh?
No, it's the other way.
Swear to God. Oh,
That
it's
is the
the other way around?
Canadian. Yeah, that is the
It's the
Canadian.
other way around.
So you just lied.
It's one of those.
You have no 7-Eleven experience. Come on, Rob, we're so behind on the chat, by the way. So
Here's what I was saying. Okay, I wanted in the future, because I know this would work, for millionaire clients, I would hire a kid that looks just like, and our clinic will find you, a child when you were 8 years old. And when we hire that child as an 8-year-old, we give him your diary, your therapy book diary, about all your grievances as a child. And then you sit next to the child, you look at the kid who looks like you, and you look him in the eye, and you go talk to him, and the kid starts bringing up traumas, and you get to, as an adult, school yourself and tell him what you want to say to him. Because a lot of people have said this cured their suicidal, this cured their everything fucked up in their head, when they did it as an active imagination Jungian analyst therapy session. So I said, if a therapy session is not effective, imagine if they played it out like in Shutter Island, the whole thing. And imagine when you get over the giggling part, and the child says, "Mommy never came home." Imagine when you look at that kid and go, "Holy fuck, now it's not that funny." Now it's like,
now we need a child for the child.
no, it would be like those therapeutic dogs for like retards. You know what I'm saying?
You spent 5 minutes trying to get that out. Unbelievable.
Oh, I'm saying this. If in the active imagination practice it's that effective, imagine in the real world.
Is he cooking? Wow, that is a horrible
And
idea.
could you imagine?
That's one of those things that should never come out of your mind. It should never be spoken of.
If you imagine the sense of responsibility you'd feel, your adult self sitting next to your child self, and then you go, "Huh, I know that that's not me. He doesn't even look like me, but I have grown up, and he can stop crying. I've got his back now."
And what is the actual child doing? He's sitting there trying, you're walking off, laughing.
Bro,
We need an even younger child for the child.
And then Chris Hansen walks in, like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "What is
Yeah,
this?
you're never getting
Do you
reinstated
have a
on
$1
kick.
million idea, or do I have $1 million idea?"
The premise is great, but and we have an exercise called the inner child where you put out a chair for the child, but you could visualize the child. I even have clients actually take pictures of themselves and their baby and when they're an adult, and they put them together to make it look like their adult version is holding this younger version of themselves, and that creates some distance. But that's one of those ideas that just should not come out.
I've been asked this a million times, like, "Oh, how many children are in me?" And I'm like, dude, whatever your thought loops, that's what it is. So if you think of yourself at 5 years old and you wander and it's not the good kind of wandering, now you got to solve that guy. If you think of yourself at 14 playing football and you're wandering and you're really depressed, now you got to solve it with that 14-year-old. So some people have to solve it with like 3 different versions of themselves. Some people with 1.
Right. Yeah. Or there could be infinite. Right. You might have to go back and talk to every single version of yourself. So be it. If that's what it takes to have that peace.
I swear to God, I do this every couple of years. I can show you right now. I have a binder every couple of years. Every day I put chaotic. I go, "What's on Twitch? I'm on YouTube. I'm like, what am I doing with my life and stuff?" And I do a timeline. This is the healthiest thing I've never talked about ever online.
We're so behind on the chat.
Have you ever done a timeline of your life? Like people see it on their Snapchat.
Yes, I do that with all my clients.
No, but I draw a timeline of my life just to see the different Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard versions. And then when I reach this present day, this 2024 moment, I go, "Holy fuck, the next chapter has to be a sneaker, it has to be good." And have you ever done a timeline of your life where you just go thoroughly through what happened every single year? And I'm so intelligent, I only post the good stuff.
I had a client, I did this with a client, you stole this idea from me, I invented this exercise, and therapists around the city are using it now. But I created the timeline exercise, and I had a client actually name different chapters of their life, like depending on what was going on in their life.
Like a very book.
Sure. Okay, next question. How do I rebuild life after getting it knocked down? I don't think that's vague enough. It's got to be...
You know what's funny about the vague ones? What's funny about the vague ones is, you know what they really want you to answer? They want you to go into podcast mode, see what you can spitball, and make it entertaining. Because if it's vague and not specific, it's the most snake thing you can do is a vague question like that. Because what you're saying is, give me content in between the help. What are we doing, a call or a podcast? Is it a call or a fucking podcast?
It's not a podcast.
Yeah, fucking bag it, bro.
Why is it so challenging to grind out studying for work instead? Instead I just run to dopaminergic activities instead. Why have I dealt with this struggle since middle school? It sounds like ADHD to me, especially the dopaminergic activities.
You want me to make it feel worse, bro? And I still ask myself that question. I go, why have I had this habit of talking my work and procrastinating for some Dragon Ball videos since I'm 30 and I've been doing this since 12? So guess what? You're gonna be 70. Ask yourself the same thing. Relax, bro. Relax. You little fucking rip faggot. Bro, you ever watch Dragon Ball?
Relax, bro. What's up with you? Okay, there's one thing that I think could help. I find that for people who struggle with procrastination, in some cases it's what we talked about before, Zerka, where there's some feeling that they're not deserving of having that. In other cases, I have noticed that there's a lack of a goal that they're trying to attain. There's a lack of a narrative that they're trying to create for themselves. It's really difficult to justify sacrifices if you don't know what those sacrifices are going towards. Right? If you can't justify making a sacrifice for something bigger, I can't even talk. Leave it. Whatever. Guys, Zerka fucked it up.
No, go ahead. What?
I don't even know what I was saying. Lost my train of thought.
You. Great, that's all.
Oh yes, if you don't have a narrative that you're working towards, it's very hard to justify making sacrifices in the moment. If you know what the sacrifices are being made for,
I want to hear about that chapter part. I do that too. I write chapters. I go, chapter.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Write out your timeline. Start with the things that you remember, the things that are very obvious to you. There's different ways to do the timeline. The one you're discussing is to go in very detailed way. If you want to do it,
mine is about overcoming the bad experiences or just positive experiences plus overcoming bad ones.
if you want to do the timeline year by year, I say work your way backwards. Don't start at the beginning. Work your way backwards. But there's another version of the timeline that I do with my clients. I think some of them might be in the chat. But we do 4 or 5 entries, and you get to pick what those 4 or 5 entries on the timeline are. And that
wait,
is
why
very
backwards?
ridiculous. Backwards, it's similar to the backward review. When you move,
How do you know the backward review? What are you, a Rosicrucian?
No.
These Canadians are all fucking rosy cross, bro. They're all fucking. Who are you?
But very, very effective. I've read the stuff, man. I'm not here to give the cookie cutter advice. But if you literally,
Does any other therapist do the backward review?
yeah, they're all stealing my exercises. Everything. People come to me after they've gone and worked with another therapist. And like, we did the timeline exercise. How do you know what the timeline exercise is? Anyways.
Are you hitting a soundboard or was that a
It's a
soundboard?
table. It's a table. Okay, let's do a couple more and let's get out of here.
Jack, can you imagine he's a therapist with a soundboard? And they're all taking my shit long.
What's the one that you want impression fit?
I still don't know what it means.
Yeah, me neither. I never understood that. I remember the only reason why I know is because they would always press it anytime you spoke. They would go, Don DeMarco. Great. Okay, how do you stop worrying that you're going to get fired or that your business will stop making money? I started making $10,000 a month off my fitness Instagram with 20,000 followers and panicked that it's not sustainable to quit my job if my page ever gets banned.
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about sustainable? It's about life, man. It's about feeling alive. Let me tell you this. Anytime any human, especially me, I wasted my whole life with this argument. Oh, it's not sustainable. I'm going to wait a little longer. I used to do dumb shit like I'll wait till my chat donates money so I can have a second phone to IRL stream. When it's like, bro, I know I'm going to be streaming for the rest of my life. Just buy the fucking phone, you fucking faggot. And I'm thinking to myself, like, anytime a human has ever used the word, is this sustainable? Is this a realistic option?
I
want to take them downtown next to the homeless people and be like, why don't you ask this homeless guy if it's sustainable? Any human who's ever quit their job and had no backup, they've never gone homeless ever in history. They're liars. They're cowards. They use the sustainable thing as some excuse that they're going to go starving. They never.
You should always seek sustainability. That's the only thing that's going to be consistent for you. Anytime you pursue something unsustainable, it's not going to work out for you. You're only setting yourself up to fail. But it is true that nobody's ever become homeless from losing a job or anything like that. They become homeless because they have mental health issues or they're drug. Especially, I mean, if in Vancouver people can find ways to live, I mean, you can do it anywhere in the world.
Bro,
Vancouver now is the most expensive city in North America.
I hate giving this white pill answer because it's like I'm going to get really bad advice. Deep down, everyone knows it's amazing advice. It's just very scary. Bro,